Hi, I'm Brad. I'll be going over the WL50, which is a brand new machine. Y'all actually got it before it was supposed to be shipped out. Because I looked up whenever y'all got it, and it was a week before they were even supposed to be shipped. My boss was like, make sure they got their stuff, since they're not supposed to be shipped till last Thursday. And I'm like, yeah, they've already got it all. I was like, how? I don't know, but they got them. So I ain't complaining. It's easier to show y'all in person. That way y'all can see what I'm actually working with instead of on a screen. Because we do virtual trainings also. We haven't done them on this yet because it's brand new. But we do them. I do an in-depth one on this one. I think next Tuesday I have another in-depth, and it's going to be pretty much the same thing I'm teaching y'all today. So y'all don't have to be there. But we do offer it for whenever you have new employees come in. We do a basic every 2 weeks. I think WaterLogic is on Wednesdays. And then we do an in-depth on this one, the I-15, I-16, which is also ice water dispensers. And I think the S4, which is a sparkling machine. Eventually the S4 will go away. We'll be doing it on this one or the I-30, which is a new ice maker that was released Thursday or Friday to even be sold. But for now, we'll worry about the WL50. This, like I said, this is a new machine. It's on the same platform as one of our other machines. We just gave it kind of a facelift to make it look different. But it operates the same way, makes water the same way. This is a gravity-fed machine. It can, you can do reverse osmosis or carbon filtration. Sell it either way. It's easier to buy it as a reverse osmosis and turn it into a carbon filtration than buy it as a carbon filtration and turn it into reverse osmosis. Just because of the electronics and everything. I know the reverse osmosis ones are a little more expensive, but it's because they've got everything in them. So they are, I prefer just to buy them, get them as reverse osmosis because it is easier to switch them. Right. You've got this whole thing right here lights up. This user interface right here lights up completely. It's normally blue for cold water. If you just walked up and hit the dispense button, it would dispense cold water. When you press the hot, it turns red. Then you hit the dispense button and it dispenses hot water. The reason why we do that, the federal law says you have to have a two-step way of dispensing hot water from a water cooler. That's federal law. Every cooler is supposed to be that way since like 1974, something like that. To keep kids from getting burned. Or people with very low IQs. You've got a very big dispense height here. You can put big water bottles in it. I carry around a 40-ounce mug. It'll fit in here easy. We did testing on this with, this does have a little plastic shield on here, so that doesn't hurt it down. We did testing on this. We do all of our testing with a 30-ounce Yeti. And it fits in these real nice. So, let's see. Stay up there. People say, well, it's got a matte black finish. Well, it's because it doesn't show fingerprints. You get a gloss black, it shows fingerprints. And then the customers are like, ooh, it's dirty, it's got fingerprints on it. Whereas this doesn't show them as easily. So I don't think it's dirty. It does, the drip tray, it's a huge drip tray. I mean, that's huge. It does have a little float in it to let them know when it needs to be dumped. As of right now, we don't have a drain kit for this to hook, if there was a floor drain or something right behind it. We don't have that available yet. We're already working on it. This came into production faster than we thought it would. So we don't have all the everything ready for it quite yet. I think one of our other drain kits will work. We just haven't tested it yet. But for now, just tell them it's best to take this out and dump it every single night. Rinse it out, wipe it out with just a little rag. Doesn't take much. 1 minute. Dump it out, rinse it out, wipe it out, put it back. Don't do it every night. That way it doesn't get bleh in it.
Yeah.
Because it will start smelling and get really, really nasty. Oh, in your power cord kit, it also comes with these two little stem elbows. They go in the back here. That way you don't have a line coming straight out. Tubing. That way it turns and bends. Yes, it makes another leak point on it, but it makes it to where you can scoot them back a little farther, closer to the wall if need be. And also if someone moves it, it's got wiggle room where it's not kinking the line or pulling the line directly out. It can wiggle. I always suggest when you're hooking up the lines back here, if you come off here, bring the line up here and then go back to wherever it needs to go. Just put a little, even a bread tie strap, bread tie, something like that. But put a shut off between here and your inlet. And we can turn the water off. That way if your customer calls up 5 o'clock in the evening, hey, I've got a leak on this machine. Okay, right behind the machine there's a little ball valve. Turn that off. We'll be there first thing in the morning. Okay. Makes them feel better. That way they don't have to try and figure out where you've hooked in the source at.
Yeah.
Keep it right behind it, makes it a lot easier. Lowers leak claim, the dollar value on leak claims tremendously by doing that. They're $3 or $4, for maybe $5 for another ball valve right there. My suggestion, put them on. I've made every one of my techs when I was a service manager do that. And they're like, oh, it's a waste. No, it's not. Not when you can get $10,000 or $15,000 leak claims against you because they can't figure out how to turn off the water. It's right there behind it, and whichever one you use, try and stick with that same one. That way when they call in, the dispatchers or whoever's taking the call, and say, okay, behind the machine, there's this shutoff. It's, there's some that are white with a blue handle, there's some that are white with a gray handle, there's some that are gray with a green handle. Whichever one y'all are using, I don't know. But try and stick with the same one if you can. That way your dispatchers can tell the customer, hey, look right behind the unit. There'll be this ball valve, just turn that handle 90 degrees away. And that'll shut off water in the machine. And that works, trust me.
So you're saying just come out of there and kind of loop it up, put your ball valve in, and then take something and tie it to one of the grills on the back there?
Yeah. And like I said, a bread twist tie is fine. Just something that...
Zip tie or anything.
Yeah, zip tie. Just to hold it up here to make it look nice for your customer. That way they're not looking at it and seeing a whole bunch of lines out there. And I always zip tie the lines together coming up and then just split them like right here to go to each side of it. Try and make it look as pretty as possible. Back in 1991, when I first started doing installs for the soft drink industry, the guy that was training me, he said, aesthetics is 70% of your job. Make it look pretty, and the customer will not complain as much. If it looks like crap, they're going to complain. Even for the little things, but if it looks pretty, they're not going to complain. Make it look pretty as you possibly can. When I'm running lines and stuff, like if you got a baseboard like that, say the water line's over there, but they want it over here because that's where the electrical is, you can take a screwdriver, usually lift that up, stick the lines in there, underneath there. There's enough room. And that hides it all the way around. That way you don't have to put tracking like this on top of it. That's a cost. But if you put it underneath the baseboard like that, Now, if it's a wooden baseboard, you really can't do that. But these rubber baseboards like that, yeah, they're great for it. I've got it in our corporate office that way. I've got a 3/8 line and a 1/4 line running there for CO2 and water. So I'm running 3 machines off one set of filters. Actually, 4 machines off one set of filters. I have it tucked in there so nobody can see it. It looks great. Nobody knows. How do we get water here? See that line? It goes in there. It goes around. Oh, okay. I love it. Okay. We'll flip this back around later. To take this bottom panel off, you got one screw right here. You got to take out. Federal, I have to tell y'all, this federal law says you have to put this screw back in. It's to keep the customer from being able to access this area where the electrical is without a tool. Federal law says that. I don't know hardly any techs that do put that back in. But I have to tell you have to do it. Okay. So then this just pops down, comes right off. Real easy. Once we get the drain kit figured out, we'll be able to pop that off, hook the drain kit to it, and run it out the back. Like I said, we just haven't had time to test it yet because we got our first one in our lab last Monday. So we haven't even got time to test these yet to see if our kits are going to work on them. That's your RO membrane, okay? The reason why it's bagged up and tied like that is because they're wet membranes, which means we've got a preservative in there. When you install these, you got to get that preservative out. And I'll show you what to do with it. But you got to get that preservative out because it doesn't play well with the silicone seals in the solenoids. Ends up eating them up and makes the life of them go away. Kills the life on those solenoids. So we put it right here, tie strap or red tie it in, and like I said, those right there, you can use them back here on the back. Yeah, they're cheap, they're free, they're already in the machine.
Yeah.
Use them instead of throwing them away. Okay, when your water comes in, it goes through this leak detector down here. Okay, it's a float style leak detector. So when water gets in there, it's going to raise up and shut off the water coming into here. There is a little cap right here you can pull out to see if there's any water in there. If for some reason they're saying there's no water, check this first. If water comes out of that, when it sounds like this, you've got a leak in there somewhere. You got to figure out why. Fix the leak, dry it all out, put this cap back. Because if you don't, any water that leaks in there is going to leak right out. Now you got a leak claim. Okay, and on a wood floor like this, that's going to cost you. Don't lose those little caps. We do have them available, but they cost you. They're not much. They're like 50 cents a piece or something like that, but that's still money. Water comes in, goes through your sediment filter, goes through your pre-carbon filter. After it comes through the pre-carbon filter, and I'll show you all this in a minute. There's an elbow up here that it comes out of, goes through this fill valve back here, goes back into your RO membrane. From the RO membrane, comes out, loops around, goes into your mineral add back. Comes out of it, shoots right across, and goes to your post carbon. From post carbon, it comes up here to the cold tank. Fills up the cold tank. Fills up the cold tank first. There's a tube, and I'll show you all this. Tube right in the middle, about 4 or 5 inches tall. Once the water fills up enough into there, it cascades down that tube into the hot tank to fill up the hot tank. My suggestion, if y'all can do this, get you an RO system in your shop with 20-gallon tank, something like that. Just some kind of tank that will hold some water. Before y'all take these out, fill your hot tank with water. All you gotta do is just fill the hot tank. You can take a tube and stick it down in there and it'll fill up. Fill your hot tank with water. Yeah, it's gonna add another 5-6 pounds to this, but this machine is fairly light. So putting it in your truck with another 5 or 6 pounds isn't going to kill most people's back. And you can always manhandle it, and it's even easier. But you do that way whenever you get out on the job site and you're installing it and everything. Well, before you can turn on the hot tank, you gotta have that hot tank full of water. And if you're gonna sit there and wait for it, well, you're gonna get a little over half a gallon of water in the cold tank before it starts going into the almost 3/4 of a gallon of hot tank. So now you've got a gallon and a quarter that it's got to make before you can turn on the hot tank. This machine can only make a gallon of RO water every 20 minutes. So it's going to take roughly 25-30 minutes of you standing there looking at it before you can even turn on the hot switch. So my advice, get you an RO system built in your shop with a tank, just so you can fill it up here before you leave. That way, if you got 2 or 3 installs going, you can fill up 2 or 3 of them. 10-gallon tanks are fine for it. They'll hold 5 gallons of water. Whatever the gallon it says on the tank, the RO pressure tanks, say it's 10 gallon, it's only going to hold about half that, unless you have a booster pump system on it. With a booster pump system on it, it'll hold 40% more. But without a booster pump, it's only going to hold about half. So you get a 20-gallon tank that will hold 10 gallons. I had in my shop, I had a 120-gallon tank with a booster pump on it. So I was holding roughly about 75, 80 gallons of water in that tank at all times when it was full. We flushed all of our filters with RO water. We filled up the machines with RO water. And we were doing 100 plus installs a month out of our shop. Once y'all get to that point, you might look into that. It saves our guys lots of time because we could get all the filters flushed in the shop, including the RO membrane, get that stuff out of there, throw the machine together, take it to the job site, install your lines, hook up the machine, turn on your water, plug in the machine, turn on the hot tank, ready to go. I can leave now. Tell the customer it's going to be 2 hours for the cold water to get cold. Oh, okay, that's cool. That way you're also not in their place any longer than you need to be. Because they want you to come in, get the job done, get out. But if you're there for 3, 4, 5 hours, they're ready for you to leave. But if you're there an hour and a half, 2 hours, oh, okay, cool. Got it done. Awesome. Good job. Just like the service calls, get in, get the job done, get out. You want to talk shop a little bit, or about the game or whatever, because you getting on a good terms with them and everything. Go for it, but keep it down to a minimum. Get in, get out, go on to your next job. That way you're saving time. You don't have to speed in your vehicle to get to the next one. I don't know if y'all are based off of calls per day or whatever, but eventually you get big enough, that's what they do. They base you off calls per day. They got 8 calls per day, that means 1 an hour. You got 20-minute drive time. You've only got, 30, 35 minutes in that account before you need to start driving again. This is the main PCB on them, right in here. So it's easy to access. You just come on.
was easy.
Well, I don't have my glasses on.
Wanna borrow mine?
Might have to, or I have to go back out to my car and get them.
Might go
Cause I left
blind.
mine in my seat.
I'm gonna go blind with mine.
It's got clips on the bottom. Come on.
I'm gonna tilt back.
There's one. When they're new like this, they are a little harder. See if you can get it. I got arthritis. You get these two little clips right here.
They pull out.
The clip should push up and that pull out.
This is not as easy as he said.
There you go.
It's your first quick test, Corey.
Yeah, easy to do. Okay, so there's your main board. You've got dip switches right here. In those manuals, I saw y'all already printed out. It'll tell you what each one of those dip switches will do, or can do for you. Figure out how y'all want the dip switches set. Most of it is going to be filter light timing that y'all need to figure out if y'all want the filter light to come on at 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. I believe there's a sleep mode on this also. You can turn that off. And it's all on these little bitty tiny dip switches. Use a pick, a metal pick or something. Those metal picks work good also for changing the O-rings in these fittings. They do go bad occasionally. I had my guys, instead of swapping out the part, we swapped out the O-rings. It's cheaper. You can get 100 O-rings for $10, but those fittings are $1 a piece. So it is cheaper to change the O-rings, because it only takes 30-40 seconds to change out an O-ring. Okay. There's that fitting I was talking about. Comes in over here, there's an elbow fitting over there, goes through your sediment, goes through your pre-carbon, comes out of this fitting in the front, comes around, goes through this solenoid, comes back down into your RO head. This solenoid, if you look on it, right down here, there is an arrow, and it points in the direction of flow. If you have to change that solenoid for some reason, and you put it in backwards, it'll never stop the direction of flow. It'll never stop the water. So you'll get an overfill situation. Check those. And most solenoids, water solenoids are that way. They will have an arrow on it showing the direction of flow. Put it in the correct way, shouldn't have a problem. Okay, to flush these filters, this is the fun part. You're still going to have your water coming in. What I like to do, you can hook the water to the back, just make sure you can reach that shut off. Or you can disconnect it in here and hook your water line directly to it. That way you still get that shut off that's going in the back, and you can turn it on and off. Either way you want to do it, it's fine. But you want to flush your pre-carbon first. So pressurized from the factory. Pull this line out of that, put you a 2 to 3 foot piece of tubing in here, have your 5 gallon bucket right here, turn your water on. Let this flush for 5 minutes or 5 gallons, whichever comes first. Turn off your water, and when these are brand new, they're a little difficult to get in and out. You see it's just a quarter turn, comes out. Take this one off, Put it to the side. Take your mineral add back one, put it in here, tighten it, turn on your water and flush it. Your sediment, you never really have to flush, but because we don't have a elbow right here, you gotta keep it in here or else it's going to leak out right here. So just keep your sediment right there, flush your filter here.
So it's flushing through the
Yes.
sediment filter the whole time it's flushing the other two.
Yep. Yep. Now after this one's done, turn it off, take the filter out. Now, we gotta do some changes. You gotta take your drain line out of here, move it over here, take your source line out of here, move it into here. Because the post-carbon filter has to be flushed backwards. There's a 5 micron screen up here in the top of this thing that it's there to keep any extra carbon dust that's in that GAC filter from coming out later. And it will do it. It's just the nature of GAC carbon filtration. This one here, it's pre-carbon is a block. So it's like a brick of carbon. They pressure it together, it's solid, but water can flow through it. The post-carbon filter is what we call a GAC. It's a granulated activated carbon. And it's like having a bag of sand in here. It's a bag of carbon. So that bag, it'll leak out because it's just loose carbon in there. They crush it. It's actually a plastic thing in here with just holes in it, but they just pour the carbon into that piece of plastic and then attach it inside here. So that as the water flows over it and everything, the carbon rubs together and it starts making finer and finer carbon. It will come out and it will come out of the top of it if we don't have that mesh screen up here. If you try and forward flush it, that mesh screen is going to get clogged up with all that water, all that carbon, that loose carbon that is in there. It's just shaking it, driving it around in vans, trucks, ships for them to come over from overseas where they're made. They get shaken, not stirred. That carbon is already starting to break down by rubbing against each other. So you got to back flush it to get all that extra carbon out. And to do that, you just take this line out, put it into here, take the drain line that you had there, put it over there, run that into the bucket, turn it on, flush it 5 minutes, 5 gallons, whichever comes first. Okay? After you do that, put everything back like it was. Okay? So you can take this one out, move it back to there, put this one out, move it there, get your mineral add back, put it in there, put your pre-carbon. Right there. Now we got to put the RO in. Take it out. There's a cap here for the top. On the bottom, there's a little, like a sponge. I can kind of see it a little bit. I don't want to mess with your RO in here. There's this little gray sponge. It's a piece of insulation, really. But there's a plug up inside there. You got to pull that plug out. You'll need a tool. Upholstery tool for your car, or the door sides and stuff. They work great on these. Small flathead screwdriver also works. You gotta pull that plug out. You're gonna put that RO membrane in here. And inside here, there's another line that's just capped on the end. This little piece down here is your flow restrictor. In order for the water to get filtered through the RO membrane, you have to have pressure in that RO membrane. That flow restrictor restricts the flow so that these things stay pressured up the whole time. Okay? Because pressure is what's pushing the clean water through the membrane. It's just a semi-permeable membrane. And the micron rating on it is, I think, 0.00128. Very, very small. That's why it gets rid of viruses, bacteria, almost everything. You should get a 90 to 95% rejection rate out of these ROs when they're working properly. So if your TDS is 100 coming in, TDS coming out of this machine should be no higher than 10 once it's running right. And it can get down as low as 5. Actually, if it's running, if you've got good 60 psi pressure going into it, it could get down to 2. I'm not sure what the TDS is around here. I'm figuring, I was told it might be somewhere around 200. I don't know. That's the nation average, around 200. Well, that means that the high rejection rate would be 20. At 20, you probably want to think about changing it. 10 would be normal. 5 or 6 would be exceptional. And if you look at bottled water and test them, Dasani has a TDS of about 20. Aquafina is about 6. That's the difference between those two, because Dasani adds water minerals back into the water, Aquafina doesn't. So I was in the soft drink industry for a total of 30 years. I know what they're doing. I actually had to help set up the Aquafina line at Pepsi and train the guy that ended up running the Aquafina line. He had trained me on installing fountain equipment. I trained him on the production line. Because he wouldn't listen to anyone else, and so they had to train me, and I had to teach him because I knew how to deal with him.
Can you explain TDS?
Oh, good point. TDS is the total dissolved solids in the water. So that's all your minerals. It's also the chlorine and chloramines that the water companies put in the water to sanitize it. It's anything that's in the water that's not H2O. Okay. Lead, arsenic. I don't know if y'all know about the SFAs that are coming out, or SCFAs, something. Anyway, it's a chemical pollution that's in the water. And they're finding out it's nationwide. The only thing that really gets rid of it is ROs. We're still in the process of getting them tested. But the federal government hasn't set the guidelines on what the testing is yet. So can't test any of them yet. But we know it does get rid of them. Or at least 90, 95%, 98 at best. They've been in the water since the 1950s when chemical companies started dumping their chemicals into the water. They're everywhere. There's no place in America those chemicals aren't at. But they're just started doing testing within the last 3 years or so. So we're finding out about them, and people are freaking out about it. It's like, you've been drinking this water the whole time. It hasn't, it's like everything else, even breathing, everything will kill you eventually. But the ROs will take out most of it. Federal government doesn't even know what their guidelines are for it yet. They're still working on it. They're trying to figure it out.
I heard of a TDS tester. Do our guys need a TDS tester?
If you're doing RO, yes you do.
Okay.
We got them in, we got some stuff in Monday.
In fact, I tested our water upstairs yesterday just to see.
Yeah,
How was it?
96.
96.
That's good.
That's what it was right out of the spigot upstairs.
That's really good. You might have places around here that you don't need RO because of it being so low.
Our water is pretty good. I think American, where I live, is pretty exceptional.
This is the most common TDS meter.
That's what we got.
Yeah, TDS 3. If you're not getting them, get them because you can also check temperatures with it. And that comes into play more on this machine. But if the customer says, this water's not cold enough, pull out your meter. Pull it, do a cup, put it down in there, give it about a minute to get to the right, to get down to where it's at so you can see what it is. I believe with these dip switches on this machine, you can change the temperature setting. So I set for, I think, 41 to 45 degrees, and you can change it to 37 to 41 if need be. These are great. All you do, they tell you not to put your water in here and test it. It's what every tech does. Just be sure and clean this out real good between each one. But you just turn it on, have a cup, because I can't tell you to put it in here. Pretend like this is a cup, you turn it on, put your water in there, do it. Stick it down in there, hold it, it's going to tell you what your TDS is. Between each testing, turn this off, turn it back on. That way it reboots and you get a better test on it. It's more accurate that way. These are only good for about 6 months. They start going out of calibration after about 6 months.
Wow.
They are cheap enough that you can throw it away, start using a new one. I always had my guys, plus even when I was a tech, I carried 2 of them. One in my tool bag, one in the van. If I got a weird reading with the one that was in my tool bag, I'd walk out to my van, I'd grab the new one, I'd test it. If I got the same reading, okay, then I got to work on the machine. But if it's a different reading, then the old one gets thrown away, I start using the new one. They do make a solution that you can pour in there to calibrate it. There's directions that come with it on the new ones, tell you how to do it. The solution costs twice as much as these, and you can only use it on one of them. So, you can do 2 of these for the price of, well, actually you can do 3 of them for the price of one of these and the solution. Throw them away after about 6 months, get a new one. Your customers will thank you, and your brain will thank you for doing that. Because now you don't have to worry that your meter is giving you a wrong signal.
That's 6 months. Is that based on usage? Like, let's say that I got one, I have one of those, and I haven't used it in 3 months. Does that extend the 3 months out?
Yeah, kind
Or they
of.
just don't go bad sitting there?
No, not really, but I mean, I just had my guys every 6 months. I just said, here's new meters, guys, throw your old ones away. And I said, one that's in your van already, start using that, put this in your van. All of our vans had a little shelf up here, and we just threw the stuff like this up there. That way we knew where it was, we could find it easy, and we didn't have to crawl into the back of the vans to try and find it. And you actually just sit down on the seat. Oh yeah, there it is. Wherever y'all can figure out to put it in y'all's vans, just put an extra one in there. If the battery goes bad in it, you got an extra one. If the reading is bad, you got an extra one. Come into the shop next day or later that day, grab you another one. I would order these in boxes of 10 because I had 10 techs. And they were just sitting there. Every 6 months I'd go, here you go guys, take your new TDS meter. I'd order 10 more, have them sitting there. That's my suggestion. You don't have to. that's my suggestion, and like I said, the branch I ran, whenever I first started for the company, there was 2 techs for our branch, me and another guy. Whenever I quit being the manager there, we had 10 techs plus the manager. And we were doing 100 plus installs a month. That's a lot. Because we were doing big ice makers, we were doing small machines, we were doing everything. If our customer wanted it, we sold it to them. Coffee makers, ice, water, reverse osmosis systems under sink for dentist office, because they use what's called an RODI system. We give them deionized water to sterilize their tools with. And they had also put it in bottles so they could store it in your mouth whenever they're working on your mouth. It's deionized, there's nothing in the water, it has a TDS of 0, so it doesn't let anything grow in there, no infections or anything because of it. We supplied those, we had 1,000 of those out there. We serviced all that. Continue on with this. Like I said, put this back together, put this in here, hook this line up to the bottom of it. There's a line back here. Easier. Give you all a little light to see that little line right there. It's connected to an elbow. Okay? Pull that line out, put your drain line in there, run it into a bucket, turn your water on, plug the machine in, let this RO flush for about 30 minutes. Okay? And what that does, that gets all that preservative out of there. It will run it through your mineral add back and your TCR. It's not going to hurt them. No silicone in it. It just comes right on out. Run it into a bucket for about 30 minutes. Again, 30 minutes with a gallon every 20 minutes. You're only going to put a gallon and a half into your bucket. So that's why we say use 5-gallon buckets. Do that after about 30 minutes. Turn off your water, let it all depressurize. Take that drain line out, hook that line back up, turn your machine back on, let it fill up. If you've got the hot tank full of water before you go out there, once you get it running again, there's a switch back here on the back. That's your hot switch right there. Right here. Right now, it's in the off position. That's on. If you don't have water in your hot tank and you flip that switch on, we've got what's called an overload bimetal. The temperature will rise in there real quick. It'll get hotter than it's supposed to be, and it'll pop that bimetal. Circuit breaker. This one's actually in the front. We'll have to take the front panel off to see it, but for the most part, if you're getting a hot not hot call, but water is flowing, more than likely that bimetal's popped. And they'll do it occasionally. Power surge could make them pop. It's a circuit breaker. Power surge can make them pop. Power outage and then come back on within a couple of minutes will make them pop. And so you just got to get in there, unplug the machine, because there's two little prongs going in. We'll take this apart so you can see it. There's 2 little prongs in there. In the middle there's a little button. You push that button to reset it. Those 2 little prongs in there have 110 volts going across them. You stick your finger in there, you're liable to touch those 2 prongs. You just got 110 volts through your finger. Don't ask me how I know, but it hurts. It hurts a lot. And you try to keep from saying things that you shouldn't say in front of your customer. Unplug it first before you mess with the bimetals. On any machine. This one, doesn't matter. Unplug it first before you mess with the bimetals. If Once you reset it, plug it back in, give it 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, you can try and dispense hot. If you feel it getting warm, in 5 minutes it should be about 100 to 110 degrees. That's what most people's shower is. You know, just run over your finger into the cup. If you feel it getting warm, you fixed it. Great. Put the machine back together, haul butt. If it's not getting warm in 5 minutes, then the bimetal is bad, more than likely. Then you can change it out. So it's only a 5-minute wait to test it. And it'll save you from having to go back the next day if you do that 5-minute wait, or later on that day. So give it the 5 minutes, just test it. If it's getting warm, it's working. If it's not getting warm, change the bimetals first off. If I believe this one has two bimetals on it, change it in pairs. Because they've both seen the same amount of heat. If one of them has gone bad, the other one's fixing to go bad. Always change them in pairs. One of them will be a thermostat, one will be a overload. Put them back in the same spots they were. Back in the old days when I started, we didn't have overloads. We had 2 different bimetals, a high and a low. And you never knew which one was which because they looked identical. There's little bitty tiny numbers on it, and that's what you had to go by. And the screws that held them in, you drop them. And the first place they do is go right underneath the compressor, and you never found them. Most of these nowadays just slip in. They just got little clips on there now. There's a little heat exchange paste on them. Try and wipe off what you can. Put it on the back side of the new one. Put it back in there. What's going to happen once you get this RO hooked up, plugged in, and it's putting water into your tank? Always check it. Check it. Move this over here so I don't lose that. Check it. Got these 2 screws right here. I was doing a virtual training. I'd already had them all out. Now, while I'm taking this out, go to Harbor Freight if y'all got them around here. They make a little dish, 2-inch dish that has a magnet. You stick on the sides. Put your screws in them. That way you don't lose the screws. Because inevitably, you're going to set it on a countertop or something nearby. Someone else is going to come in there while you got your back turned. They're going to knock them, and they're going to go places. You'll never find them again. See how easy it is to take the top off. That one was actually easy. Always check whenever anytime before you leave any machine, check to make sure it's making water. And on this machine, pretty easy.
That was easy.
Held in by this big O-ring right here. Water will be coming down from this. It'll just gonna be a trickle. Remember, it's only a gallon every 20 minutes. So it'll be a trickle. Pop this up and just make sure it's trickling. Okay. Okay. Any questions on the filters?
I think so.
Okay. Again, this is a manual float. This is your backup. This one here is your electronic float. This is your primary. It turns that solenoid on and off. If you get the carbon filtration ones, it's not going to have this one. I like having this one. So even if you're going to put in a carbon filtration unit, just use one of these RO machines. That way you've got this in here and you've got the backup. Because carbon filtration machines are just using this as the main shutoff. I like having 2 of them as a backup to keep leak claims down. I have to work with leak claims in our department for our direct side, and I have seen $10,000 ones, $15,000 ones. So I don't like the company having to pay that.
So how often do you have a leak claim in a year's time?
Depends on how many machines you got out here.
Right.
Our company currently has, as far as I know, around 275,000 machines
Very good.
out there nationwide. We get them every day. If y'all got, y'all get 1,000 machines, you might see one a month, maybe. It just depends on how well you maintain your machines. It's like your car. How often does your car break down? Same thing.
Right.
It's a man-made machine. It is going to break down eventually, but doing preventive maintenance on them, and if you see something that doesn't quite look 100%, go ahead and fix it if you can. If you got the parts for it, fix it then. If you don't have the parts for it, order them. If this one doesn't look quite right to you, maybe someone else came out there that didn't really care. They buggled it up a little bit with a pair of pliers, putting it down or taking it off or something. If you got one of these in your truck, change it. Preventive maintenance. When I was in the soft drink industry, I proved preventive maintenance works well. When I started in service, I had 1,200 machines in my area, and I was getting about 16 calls a day. After 5 years, I had 1,800 machines in my area, and I was averaging 4 calls a day because I did preventive maintenance and I did it right. I went overboard with my preventive maintenance. I brought my calls down 12 calls per day on average. Preventive maintenance works. Supervisors realize if you got a tech out there that's doing more preventive maintenance than service work, okay, that's fine. As long as all the service work for the area gets done in the day, that's great. That means they're doing their job on preventive maintenance and they're doing it properly. I had to prove that to my regional vice president when I was at Pepsi. What do you want me to do? You want me to quit doing good preventive maintenance so the machine breaks down more so I can have more calls in my area? Well, no. I said, that's the only way my call volume is going to go up. Is if I quit doing my proper preventive maintenance. I said, now my customers love me because they don't ever see me. Except when I come out there to do preventive maintenance. And that's what you want. You want them to only see you whenever you do your filter changes. If that's all they see you, we recommend once a year for the sediment, the pre-carbon, and the mineral add back. I always like to tell my customers when I was in the water industry, when I was a tech, first starting out, nothing personal, hope I don't see you for another year. They're like, why do you say that? Well, that means the machine didn't break down. And I'm back out here to change filters again a year from now. That means you've had great tasting water. Everything's worked perfectly. You haven't had to worry about it. Right. Oh, okay, yeah, hope so. I'll see you for a year. That's what I want to hear. And they giggle a little bit and laugh, and you go on with it. But that's what you want, is to try and only see them for preventive maintenance. Change the filters, check the machine out, make sure everything's working great. If not, change whatever parts you can. This is a UV light. It's an LED UV. I think we recommend changing them every 5 years. And it shines UV light down into the water to keep bioslime from forming inside the cold tank. Whenever you do your preventive maintenance every year, you still want to go ahead and drain the cold tank, sanitize it, and let it fill back up with water. This will just keep that sanitization to where you only have to do it once a year. Okay. Again, sanitizing it, hydrogen peroxide, 3 to 5%, whatever you can get at the local store. You don't have to get the industrial stuff. 3 to 5% is fine. Mix it 1 part hydrogen peroxide to 4 parts water. I personally like to use RO water to do it. That way you don't have any TDS in there when you're sanitizing. Spray it in here, spray it on all the parts. This, everything up in here, everything in the tank. Let it sit for 5 minutes. Then you can take a soft, dry, lint-free rag, wipe it out. Or you can rinse it, it doesn't matter. These are just easier to carry and use. I always carry 3 with me, 1 in my pocket to wipe my brow with, and then 2 in my bucket, and I always have them on the side of my bucket. And one of them was always cleaner than the other, and that's the one I would wipe out the insides with. One that was a little dirtier, we use Simple Green to spray the outside, and I'd use that other one to wipe down the outside of it. That way I had a sanitized one for sanitizing, one for just general cleaning. Simple Green is a really good cleaner to use on these to clean the outsides. Even if you get it in the nozzle, it's non-toxic in small amounts. So it's not going to hurt anyone if you don't get every single drop out of it. People always ask me, well, what is that stuff you're using to clean with? Simple Green. I use that, non-toxic. Then I'd take it. This was me. I'd take it. Y'all don't have to do this, but this was me. I'd take it and I'd spray, squirt in my mouth on my tongue. So, it doesn't have too many side effects. They'd laugh, just like y'all did. And I say, no, it is non-toxic in small amounts. That amount that I put in there is considered a small amount. There's going to be less than that on your machine after I get through wiping it off. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. It does clean the drip trays pretty good. It won't get all the scale out if any scale builds up because of them not dumping it out and wiping it out every day, but it will clean them up pretty good. Okay. Again, this is the line coming from your postcard. Okay, comes straight up here, goes right in. Yeah, just on the RO models, the carbon filtration will not have this. Again, I like having it because I know it works. I know it does help with leak mitigation. This right here, this is something that we just started putting on some of the other models. This machine can dispense cold water at 2 different speeds. I don't know what those speeds are offhand. I think it's 3 liters a minute or 1.9 liters per minute, or 2 liters a minute, thereabouts. And you can change that with the front. It's a little patty cake thing, and I can probably show you the video on it that I made. If you're doing the 2 liters per minute, water's going to come back out through here. Even if you're doing 3 liters a minute, there's a little bit of water coming back through here. It just goes in there because the pump that pumps it is really strong. And so anything that doesn't come out the nozzle gets pumped back into the cold tank. Okay. The hot tank is set at 1 speed, and it's always going to dispense at that speed. And I think it's the lower speed, which is 2 liters per minute, or 1.9, somewhere around there. It doesn't change, but the cold will. And that's mainly because some companies have little 6-ounce cone cups. Some companies have Yetis. You can set it to whatever the customer wants. Some companies only have a 10-ounce coffee cup they give their employees to use. Well, you don't want 3 liters a minute going into a 10-ounce coffee cup. It'll blow the bottom out. So you lower the speed of it, and that way it also won't overflow as easily. You already got to do one. These screws right here need to come out. And there's also 2 in the front down at the bottom that need to come off. Yep, you can. While y'all are doing that, I'm gonna get my drink out of here and have a swig.
Get you a hoop.
Do what?
I can get you a hoop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my bag full. Okay, once you get these 4 screws out, easy, just comes right out. You do have a little LED light right here that just shines light down in here, so you can see what they're getting filled up. This is your little touch pad back in here. controls this. That's really all there is on the front panel.
Is that the pump you're going about?
Yep, that's the pump. We can turn around so we have more light on it. Hang on, move back over here. That's the pump. Like I said, we can change the dispense rate on that pump. The hot tank has one also back down here. You can change the dispense rate, or you cannot change the dispense rate on that one. So this is the cold tank, comes out here, goes into the pump, gets pumped out, comes out. And then any extra goes back into the cold tank. Hot tank, actually the water coming through that tube comes into this pump and gets pumped into the hot tank. And then it comes out this tube and out. Reason why? It's a plastic pump inside there. Spine, the turbine in there is plastic. 175, 180 degree water will melt that plastic eventually if you have the hot going through it after it's hot. So we push the cold through there. Okay? These are the bimetals I was talking about. You see that little bitty red dot there? That is the overload reset. You will probably not feel it click. You will not hear it click. You will not feel it move when you push it. That's why we say push it, plug it back in, turn it on, give it 5, make sure your hot tank is on, your hot tank switch is on, give it 5 minutes, try and dispense. If it is warm, start putting it back together. You got it fixed. If it's not warm, then you're gonna have to change it out, and you, like I said, these just slide out now. Okay? You just gotta make sure and get this little ring right here behind those clips when you're putting it back in. Sometimes it's easier said than done, especially when you don't have your glasses on. There's someone that can see.
So if you had the machine on, hit the red button, you know it'd work if it shocked you.
No, because the power is always to that.
That's right there.
So it's going to shock you no matter what.
No.
It's whether the power leaves or not. So, good, it wasn't just me.
It's barely fits between the two prongs.
Yep. I didn't say it was easy. I just said it's easier than it used to be. Like I said, those two little pieces that have the holes in them used to be tiny, tiny screws that went in there. And as soon as you dropped it, it fell down below and you lost them forever. And we don't sell extras.
It's like one of the ears are slightly bent. There it is, that's the problem.
Everybody just pick a camera.
I might have to have something here to do it.
Check.
Where's your little light at? Oh, I put it back in full day probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, after you got it, after you can see it.
Spin around.
So you said you can't get those mixed up?
Well, the older ones you can.
Okay.
This one here, because one of them has a red dot and the other one doesn't.
Red dot is on the thermostat.
The one without the dot is a thermostat.
The one without dot.
Yeah, the one with the dot is the overload.
So if the top slides down to the bottom one
So I was gonna give it a single whirl because it's just not, without a screwdriver or something, I don't want to pry on it because it'll make that contact. Okay. Well, this one try it?
I'll try.
I'll get a good.
Yes.
Slip around here.
You can't get your hands in there. Just go in.
Rotates and spins around, and then it's like, you know, that little ear on the right side got tweaked just a
So
little
if
bit.
it slides like down behind.
Should just
Yeah.
slide right in.
Just on back there.
Yep.
I don't know if you had like a little tweaker or whatever you could apply. just
You have a little
pressure.
flathead screwdriver, then you can pry it out just a little bit. He got it.
Yeah.
Dang.
He's got them little nimble Japanese fingers.
Also, the overload goes slides down on the bottom too.
Yeah, they both slide in and out. You know, slide up to get out, down to get in. I didn't say it was easy, but it's
No.
easier. And once you get used to doing it, then it's even easier. I don't have to change them anymore. I just have to show, so I'm not as skilled with it anymore. The old ones with the screws and everything, I'm good at those. You use a magnetic screwdriver. But you can see all these little elbows in here that I was talking about also with this front off. These solenoids, they're interchangeable. Okay? If you one will work for either one. The body, not interchangeable. But unless you break it, you should never have any problems with it. You can, if someone calls in and says, we're not getting any water, you get out there, hit the button, it doesn't dispense. First thing you want to do, pop open the tank, make sure it's got water in it. Make sure it's full of water. If not, check your filters, check your leak detector, stuff like that. If it's full of water, then you want to check to see if your pump is working. If it's working, you're going to get water squirting out through here. What's easy to do is pop this open and try and dispense. If you're not getting any water out, water will be squirting out through here. If it's not, probably bad pump. If it's squirting out through there, then it's probably something to do with this solenoid. You can put a voltmeter on here, on these two wires right here, check it, and it should say 24 volts when you're trying to dispense. Okay? It doesn't say 24 volts, main board or this user interface. And you can check those same way. Coming off the unit, just got to trace your wires down. Coming off the main board, you should get that same 24 volts. You can also check the wiring coming from the user interface and see if it's giving a signal. It should be, I think, 5 volts on those. More than likely, if you're not getting 24 volts up here, it's going to be this transformer right here is going out, and so you got to replace the main board. That's usually what it is. This user interface, even though it's brand new, they're pretty solid. It's based off another user interface that we've been using for years. So they, we don't foresee any problems with this. Will there be? Yeah, there will be. They might not ever have that problem. Might be one or two others that go somewhere else, or y'all might get all of them. You never know.
Yeah,
It's
we're
just-
getting them.
It's just the man-made properties. Again,
If the solenoids are working, can you hear them click?
do what?
If the solenoids are working, can you hear them click?
Yeah. You'll be able to hear them click if they're working. Now, if they're working and you're hearing them click, it means there's probably some trash in here. If that pump's working and you're hearing this click, that means there's probably trash in there. You can take these 4 screws out, and I actually want to show y'all in person how to do this real quick. Got a screwdriver.
So get back here and we go look at the point.
Okay.
Let me swing around.
Don't lose these screws. You gotta have all 4 of them in there for it to seal. It is good to have magnetized tools.
Yeah, in copiers, you gotta have magnetized screwdrivers.
Yep.
There's just no way around it.
Just so you don't lose those screws.
And you're still gonna lose them, but you're gonna lose a lot less of them.
Yeah. With my arthritis, I have just a hard time getting screws out anyway.
Trying to run that thing through the magnetizer.
I was gonna say the same thing. I was gonna try any mine. Nothing.
Okay, when you take these off, be very careful. And just peel them apart like that and catch all the parts. You see that wheel fly out, and the spring the spring's still in there. There's a little bitty spring in here, right there. If that flies out, you ain't gonna find it. Or if you're lucky enough to find it, go buy a lottery ticket. It is a lighter weight spring than a ballpoint pen, but you see it's about the same size.
That's what I thought of.
Yeah.
I saw that.
But if that pump is dispensing, or the pump is working, and you're hearing this click, more than likely if you come over here and look, where this seal's at, is that little hole right there. There's probably some kind of trash there.
Just use the same cleaning solution.
Most of the time you can just get it out.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
As soon as you pull this out, be sure and drain the cold tank first. Because as soon as you take this off, any water that's above this height right here is going to come out of there. Okay? That pump is passive pass through when it's not on, so it will allow the water to come out, come through it. So make sure you drain the water at least below the dispense nozzle height. You don't have to drain it all, just down to about right here or so.
Is that the same on the hot side as well?
Yeah, because this water that's in here will push it out also. Okay? When you go to put it back in, sanitize it since you've touched it with your fingers. Make sure this is going in and out easily. Okay? And then pop it back down on there, screw it back down. Okay? That right there, I found, solves a lot of dispense problems. And I'll tell techs to do that if they call in. So try that first. Because most techs aren't going to carry these on the van. They might not even have any in the shop, especially on a newer unit like this.
Yeah.
But if they can do this and it starts dispensing, customer thinks you're incredible.
And you said they're interchangeable, so you could actually move one to the other one, and if that one stops working, then you know it's a problem.
Yep. Or you can just move the wires.
Okay, I got you.
Take the red wires, put them on the blue. Take the blue, put them on the red. Try and just, if it's the cold that isn't dispensing,
Yeah.
move the blue over to the red. Try and dispense cold. If it dispenses hot, now it's not going to be a big flow because that pump isn't working. It's just going to be gravity.
Right.
But that means something is wrong with this solenoid. But if you're hearing it click, then check the inside. Carbon scale, piece of plastic even. We found all sorts of things in these things. That fixes a lot of these. Even sometimes that little plunger will get cocked in there wrong. Or it can have some scale might have gotten up in there or some carbon and is keeping it from going in and out. So I say make sure it's flowing real easy going in and out. If it's not, figure out why. If you need to replace it, but most of the time once you clean it, it'll go in and out real easy. And then you've got it fixed. There was one missing.
Need a tray.
Yep. Like I said, those little Harbor Freight trays are really good to have. They didn't have them when I was a tech, so I lost lots of screws. And when you're putting these back in, don't tighten them up all the way until you have all four of them in there. That just helps you line it up easier when you're putting it back together. And on these, because you're screwing metal into plastic, use a hand screwdriver. The ones on the body and stuff, if you've got a cordless drill, you can use them. If you've got a clutch on it, put it on one. Lowest setting you can get. That way you don't strip it out. Once you get that fourth one in, then you can tighten them up. I always, because I'm trained in automotive and diesel, I always do opposite sides for sealing them down. Just like you would on your lug nuts of your car, the head, putting the head on. I always just try and do some kind of pattern on it.
Equal pressure.
Yep. Any questions?
Majority of the screws, just Phillips.
Yeah, they all should be Phillips. I don't know, I haven't torn it 100% down yet.
But so far
Everything, and knowing the machines like I know them, they're all Phillips. Like I said, a small flathead screwdriver, flathead will help you with some things, like those bimetals.
Yeah.
Even a pocket one. Just those real thin blades, real small blades. Those come in handy. I always carried one in my tool bag. My tool bag, I don't know how y'all do it. I've got a leather, it's supposed to be one of those side pouches with a belt. I took the belt off. I put all my tools in it. I carry it in my bucket, my 5-gallon bucket. I can throw parts down in the bottom of the bucket. So if it's a leak call, I'll throw some extra parts in there. Some of these elbows and stuff. If it's no water call, I'll still have some parts in there, but I'll also throw filters in there. If it's a PM, I throw my filters in there. That way, I'm walking in with a 5-gallon bucket in my hand. I put some extra tubing in there. 3-5 foot of tubing at all times. Even little pieces, because sometimes you just need to replace a little piece. I walk in with it all, as much as I can. And I usually could do 90% of my service calls and PMs with what I take in my bucket. And whenever I get in it, if I need to use the bucket for water, I can take out my tools because it's in a leather pouch, take out the parts, take out the filters. Now I've got a 5-gallon bucket to use. Something to help y'all be more productive. When I first started with the company, I was 125th tech in our company. In less than 1 year, I became number 6. Not because others had quit. That's my ranking. We had rankings back then. The tech that I worked with that trained me, he was number 1 in the company. So me and him, we had one of the biggest areas, and it was number 1 and number 6 in the company inside the first year. So we made our regional service director look really, really good. And that's how you just got to have the mindset of being prepared. I always had extra stuff on my van just so I could be prepared. Any questions on this machine?
I think so.
So, this is held on by these 4 little clips. Try not to break them. Just get your wiring out of the way. This nozzle has to go inside the nozzle hole. Push down, and you put your screws back in. Again, same way with that solenoid, don't tighten the screws down until you have acceleration stuff so that I can make those videos.
What are some of the spare parts that you would carry around with you every day?
Elbows,
Just remain fittings or all.
Yeah, all your fittings, always have those, because if they leak, you know, even if you're not changing out just the O-rings in it, you still got the fitting there. Or if it's just one O-ring that's leaking, you can, you know, if you're using the Murdoch style, they've got double O-rings in them. You can pull out both those O-rings, put it into the part that's the fitting that's leaking. You still got 2 more O-rings to use from that one fitting. So, yeah, fittings, filters, solenoids. That's usually about all you really need.
Right?
Just the main
bottle of
stuff.
water.
No, I got my tea over there. Thank you, though.
Can you provide me a link to that video so I'm not gonna record the video?
It will be on the tech portal.
Okay. I guess that's good.
Yeah, it's just not there yet, and I'll show you all how to get to the tech portal and everything.
I think we have that link. That's where we got the manuals on.
Okay, you can put it on your phone too. You can save it to your home screen of your phones, and that way you can, you know, if you're out in trade and you need to look at something on the manual, you can actually just click one button and go to it. That's how I learned how to work on these machines, was the WaterLogic tech portal. I've been using it since 2016. It has been around since about 2014. I started in 2016. I know the lady that started it. She's in my office. I say good morning to her every morning when I'm in the office. Now it's a engineer that's doing it that actually updates the tech portal. He's in my office also. Should work. It better work. Okay. This is a short video. This is how to adjust the water flow rate. Okay. I'm Lockhart, a technical support specialist. In this video, I will demonstrate how to adjust the cold water flow rate on a WL50. Be aware, a small amount of water may be dispensed when performing this procedure. With the unit powered on, press and hold the hot and cold select buttons for 5 seconds until a 9-tone chime is heard. Then release both select buttons. Press and hold the hot and select buttons again for 5 more seconds until a single chime is heard. Test the flow rate by dispensing cold water. Repeat the previous procedure to change the flow rate back to its previous setting. If you have any questions, please call our technician. All there is to it to change the flow rate. Hot and cold button for about 5 seconds. You'll hear a 9-time tone. It'll be like dun 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 dun. I couldn't get. It's very, 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 very soft. It's hard to hear it. It's hard for me to hear it. I've got tinnitus real bad, so I couldn't hardly hear it. So I couldn't record it. And plus, I was in a lab with lots of other machines going and everything, so it was loud in there. The second one, you'll hear just a single dong, and that lets you know that it's done.
How long was the second push for?
About 5 seconds. Yeah, it's 5 seconds even for both of them. Okay. As you can tell, the voice was mine. And those were my fingers inside the gloves. You can actually turn the chime on and off. So, you know, it's not very loud anyway, but some people complain, "Hi, it's too much noise, I can hear it." You know, so you might have to turn it off.
We hear plenty of copiers.
Yeah, and I mean, this is very, very light. It's probably 60 decibels, the chime on this, so it's not loud at all. But, in case you need to turn it off. Hello, I'm Brad Lockhart, a technical support specialist. In this video, I'll demonstrate how to disable or enable chime on a WL50. Be aware, a small amount of water may be dispensed when performing this procedure. The unit powered on, you'll need to tap the hot select button 1 time, tap the dispense button 1 time, tap the cold select button 1 time, tap the dispense button 5 more times. If done correctly, the 5th tap should not chime. You want to turn the chime back on, repeat the same procedure, and you will hear a chime on the 5th tap when performed correctly. If you have any questions, please contact our technical support line.
Okay.
Thanks for watching. We call it plain patty cake with the machine. And it's in the manual as to how to do it. That's where I was reading it from, was the manual. Like I said, I had the engineer that makes the manuals, me and him were across from each other in the office. I said, send me the links, the copies of those pages. I know you've already got them made. And so he sent them to me, and I went out there and I shot the videos. So it's exactly the same way in the manual. And this is how to reset the filter light or service light. Doesn't say filter, it says service. Hello, I'm Brad Lockhart, Technical Support Specialist. In this video, I will demonstrate how to reset the service or filter light on the WL50. Be aware a small amount of water can be dispensed when performing this procedure. With the unit powered on, you'll need to tap the hot select button 1 time, tap the dispense button 5 times, then press the hot and cold select button simultaneously 1 time, tap the cold select button 1 time, and then tap the dispense button 1 time. You should hear a 3-tone rising chime when performed correctly, and the service filter light should turn off. If you have any questions, please contact our technical support line. Thank you for watching. Okay.
Put your left foot in, take your left foot out.
Exactly, yeah. That's why we call it playing patty cake with the machine. Because even that I-12, you have to play patty cake with it to go into the self-diagnostic mode. And it's just the easiest way most people remember, oh yeah, I gotta play patty cake with this thing. I already showed you all how to flush these things. And that's the other. And I try and make these videos very short. Technical support specialist. It's only about 4 minutes. I'll demonstrate how to flush the filters in the RO filtration filter bank on the WL50. I like to disconnect the filter bank inlet and connect my source line directly to the filter bank to make turning water on and off easier. Disconnect the tube going into the inlet elbow of the sediment filter. Connect the source line with the ball valve into the elbow. On the outlet side of the pre-carbon filter, there's another elbow fitting with a piece of tubing that goes to the fill valve. Disconnect the tubing from the elbow and attach a 2 to 3 foot piece of tubing and run it into a 5-gallon bucket. Once this is done, turn the ball valve on to the water source and flush the pre-carbon filter for about 5 gallons. Turn off the ball valve and allow the filters to depressurize. Remove the pre-carbon filter and replace it with the mineral add-back filter. Turn the ball valve back on and allow the mineral add-back filter to flush for about 5 gallons. Turn off the ball valve and allow the filter to depressurize. Remove the mineral add-back filter and move the sediment filter to where the mineral add-back filter was located. Place the PCR, post-carbon filter, where the sediment filter was located. Swap the tubing for the source water in a short piece of drain tube. This will allow the TCR to be back flushed. It has a 5-micron mesh screen built into the outside side of the filter. Back flushing allows the carbon dust to be removed from the filter without clogging the mesh screen. Turn on the ball valve and allow the TCR to be back flushed for 5 gallons. Turn off the ball valve and allow the filters to depressurize. Place the filters and tubing to their original locations. I get real fast.
You're a lot faster on the video, aren't you?
Remove the RO membrane from the bubble wrap. Remove the top cap, bottom plug, and the top rubber cap. Attach the RO brine drain line with a 500 restrictor into the bottom brine drain outlet of the RO membrane. Install the RO membrane into the 3rd filter head. Disconnect the tube between the outlet of the TCR filter and the cold tank. Connect the short drain tube you were using earlier into this port. Verify the brine drain line and the source line are installed properly. Turn on the ball valve for the source line. Plug the unit into a wall outlet. Allow the RO membrane to flush into the bucket for about 2.5 gallons to remove the preservative from the RO membrane. Turn off the ball valve and allow the filters to depressurize. Disconnect the short drain tube. Reconnect the tube between the cold tank and the outlet of the TCR filter. Turn the ball valve back on, plug the unit into the outlet, and allow the unit to fill with water. If you have any questions, please call our technical support line. Thank you for watching. On here we say 2.5 gallons because that's how we officially train it, but 30 minutes or about 1.5 gallons is really all you need. We also recommend pre-testing them like overnight in your shop before you take them out the next day. That way you make sure the cold is working, the hot's working. It fills up the hot tank also. That way you can just drain out the cold tank and carry it with the water in it. Okay. This lets you know, and also whenever you're flushing that RO membrane, I didn't put that in this video, but when you're flushing that RO membrane, it's actually putting RO water into your mineral add back and your TCR filter, and getting the lower TDS water from your source out of those two filters and putting the good, the low TDS water into those two filters. That's another thing it does besides getting the preservative out of the RO membrane. Okay. We actually had a flush rack set up in Dallas so we could flush everything, and we just flushed it all before we ever took them out.
That'd make installation a whole lot quicker, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Because while you're flushing all these on a flush rack, even your RO membrane, you can flush them. You're getting that RO down now. Unless you're using RO water to flush with, you're not going to get the RO water into your last two filters, your mineral add back and your TCR. There's not that much water in them anyway. So even out in the trade, you put it in, yeah, it's going to get a little higher TDS water to begin with. But it takes about 3 weeks for those RO membranes to get 100% saturated and to make the best RO water they can make. Like I said, with a TDS of around 100 here, or at least in your building here, you're going to, after 3 or 4 weeks, you can go back and test it, and that TDS is going to be way below 5. Okay. It could be 2. Deionized and distilled water is 0. So you're not going to be too far away from that. You might even, the mineral add back is going to put 5 to 8 TDS back into it. So that's going to help y'all out here because it's going to bring it back up above 5. So you won't have, if you're using that machine, you shouldn't have any people complaining about the taste. Start getting closer to DI or distilled water, people start complaining about the taste because it's very alkaline. But with the mineral add back, it's going to help that. And like I said, it's only adding 5 to 8 TDS back. So even if you had 900 TDS going into it, you should be getting 90 TDS minimum out of it. 5 to 8 TDS isn't even going to kick you up to 100. And there are parts of the country that have that kind of TDS. El Paso, Phoenix, Las Vegas, they've got 900 TDS.
Wow.
450 is good for them. There's parts of El Paso that has 450, there's other parts that have 900. I know because my director lives in the part that has 900. Another dealer in that area, he's got 450 and he only lives 10 minutes away.
How do these things do with well water? You have any hooked up to well water?
You should never use non-potable water that hasn't been tested. Okay, it needs to be, to protect your business,
Yeah.
It needs to be certified as potable water. Okay. If someone's got a new well, in their area, if it's not certified, I wouldn't hook up to it.
Yeah.
Because if someone does get sick, it's back on you.
Yeah.
They say, "Oh, I drank the water from that machine."
That's a good question.
Needs to be just to protect your business. Needs
Yeah.
to be certified potable water. And that's the best way we can put it.
Yeah.
Because well water's not treated, is it? Or is it? I don't know.
No, not
Well,
normally.
source, I mean, I
Not
don't know.
normally.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get it
Yellow-
tested.
I've seen yellow well
Yeah,
water.
if it's certified,
Yeah.
it's been tested and it's certified, go right ahead.
Yeah.
Use it. But if it isn't certified, I would recommend not doing it. Just because if someone does get sick,
Yeah.
it's back on you.
Right.
They're gonna blame you. Whether it's your fault or not,
All right.
they're still gonna blame you.
Right.
Well, you said this would make this water. Yes, it will, but just in case.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah.
Unless it's certified. They can hold up a certificate for you, make a copy of it, put it in the file.
Yeah.
They have a thing called, I don't know if y'all use it or not, a Genius Scan. It will actually, you can actually take a piece of paper, put it down, scan it, and it turns it into a PDF file. And then you can email it. Right there, put it in their file.
Yeah.
Put it on their, your online file form. That way, if anything ever comes back, well, here's the certificate you showed me, so your water is certified.
Yeah.
It's not my machine's fault.
Yeah.
And that way it covers you, if there is ever anything.
Yeah. Okay.
But if they don't have the certification, don't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Okay.
Okay? Any questions on the WL50? Like I said, these videos that you just saw, they should be on the WaterLogic website, tech portal, hopefully this week. They're supposed to be on it by Monday. They didn't make it on there. Let me show you. Let me pull this up real quick.
Yeah, they got
Do what?
it. They do have it on there.
Yeah, there's the manual. Now click on the videos down at the bottom. They just got the global videos in there right now. They don't have the WL50 specific videos.
Yeah.
Those 5 videos that are specific to it. If you look in some of the other manuals, you'll see they'll still have those same global videos.
Okay.
And they'll be under the link showing global.
Okay.
Then there's ones that are specific to that unit. Like the I-12, it's got quite a few of them under there. Specific to the I-12, the 12,000 WL900, they're all in there. I try to keep them separate, try to make them keep them separate, but sometimes they put them in where they're not supposed to. Especially the WL900, they'll put it in. I think they're supposed to be putting it in with the I-12 anyway, because WaterLogic dealers can get the WL900 or the I-12. Y'all are doing the I-12, so y'all shouldn't have to worry about the WL900. It's nothing bad with it, it's just we're allowing, they didn't want to make a WL900 version of the I-12.
Is that the reason it says Wellsys on it instead of WaterLogic?
Yep, because we branded all the I-12s as Wellsys, and they just didn't want to make a WaterLogic version of it. So they allowed y'all to, all the WaterLogic dealers to buy the Wellsys I-12 now. The WL900 is still a good machine. They're just not making it anymore.
Yeah.
Whatever's in our warehouse, that's it. And that's why they gave you all the option of it. In there.
You have a certain machine you like working on, a certain machine you don't like ever thinking about?
I like the one at my house. I've had it there for 7 years, and all I've done is change filters and sanitize it.
Where you go?
It was actually a machine we were going to throw away because the customer was upgrading to a newer countertop model. We don't offer it. We don't sell it. It's still available for sale, but it's only good for like 5 to 10 people. And it's RO, but it's called a Vertex 400. It's competition, but we were gonna throw it away because we didn't work with it anymore, but it's still a good machine. So I asked my regional service director, I promise not to sell this. Can I keep it at my house and use it until it dies?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you don't sell it, I don't have a problem with that. Okay. So I've had it since 2017. So I've had it 7 years, and it was 5 years old whenever I got it. I like it because it's working.
Yeah.
My manager, he hates that brand, that machine. They're always leaking it. I've never had a leak in mine. But if you take care of them, they're all good. There's WaterLogic makes one called a 270 for warehouse situations. You can't beat them, not with anything. It holds 3 gallons of ambient water in reserve. So it's great for RO, especially in warehouse situations, because it'll hold that 3 gallons of ambient water, and that ambient water, just like this one, goes into the hot and cold tank. Okay? Hot tank is, 3/4 of a gallon or so. Cold tank's a little over a gallon. So you've got right at 5 gallons of water in this machine when it's full of water. It's tough. You can hit it with a forklift and it bounces. We've had plenty of them hit. It's got manual valves on it, so you don't have to worry about electronics. It's got, besides the compressor and the hot tank, I got one other set of electronics in it. And there's an electronic float that controls the inlet solenoid to allow water to come in. That's all there is to it. It's a great little workhorse. We had, WaterLogic had 6,000 of them at Amazon locations throughout America. They're workhorses. I love the machine for warehouse situations because it will hold a lot of water. A lot of people can get their water and go back to work. Office situations, it doesn't look very pretty in an office. Looks great in a warehouse. In an office, the WL50 is going to be better. There's just so many different variations of the machines. I can go through and some of the ones that we've had in the past, I can name you all the parts that will work from this machine to this machine to this machine. All the same parts. So they all work about the same. It's just the look of it. So I don't particularly worry about one particular model. But but I know because of how this one's made and the parts it uses and everything, that WL50 is going to be a really good unit. Is it going to do 50 people in an office? Probably not. More like 20, 25. It'll handle. But that, like I said, the WL270 in a warehouse situation, he'll do 50 to 100. It just depends on what's needed.
What's the need for ambient water?
Some people just like ambient water, and we actually had a customer that it was Zales corporate office, Zales Jewelry corporate office. They had one floor that was all finance. Okay, probably 60-70% of the people on that floor were of the Hindu religion. They don't drink hot or cold water. They only drink ambient water. Room temperature water, that's all they drink. We had 4 machines, 2 in each break room. They were constantly messing with them because they wanted ambient water. None of these 4 machines offered ambient water. I got tired of them messing with it and me having to go out there every week to turn everything back on. So I disconnected the hot tanks on one machine on each side and then put a sticker over for the hot saying ambient. We quit getting service calls because those people, the Hindus that were in that floor, were able to get their ambient water. And like I said, some people just want ambient water.
Yeah.
They don't like drinking cold water or hot water. And it's not religion based. Their teeth are sensitive.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it digests faster too, don't
Yeah, but cold water can also make you lose weight, supposedly, because now you're using more energy
Yeah.
to warm that water up to your body temperature.
it? Interesting.
Yeah, that's one thought on it. Yeah.
It ain't working for me.
Yeah, it didn't work for me in years.
Cold water's not cold enough.
Yeah. Yeah, it hadn't worked for me either, so yeah. But I still love my cold water.
Yeah.
It's everybody's guess as to, but like I said, a lot of people, especially Hindus, they won't drink anything but ambient. But there's people that have very sensitive teeth. They don't want anything but ambient because it hurts their teeth. Some people do it because of, what do you say? It's easier to digest or, whatever. It's just multitude of reasons why ambient. Unfortunately, this machine won't do that. I think you can disable the hot tank with this. I know you can turn off the switch. So like if you put it in a school, daycare, and they don't want hot water to be dispensed ever, you can keep the switch off in the back. I would actually keep it on. That way nothing grows in the hot tank.
Yeah.
But the solenoid, disconnect one of the wires from it, or both the wires, from the hot solenoid. It'll never dispense hot water.
Yeah.
Fixed. But like I said, I haven't got to read the entire manual. You might be able to turn it into ambient with the dip switches. I'm not sure yet. You have to look at the manual and read all the way through that to find out. I know we do have another machine that it can be done on. I'm just not sure it's that one. I think the WL3, which is a carbon filtration machine, I think you can disable the hot. Because it does hot, cold, and ambient. You can disable the hot to where it will not dispense using the dip switches.
Is that the dip switches right there?
Yeah.
It's also on page 23 in your manual.
Yep.
That'd be a good selling point though. Colder the water, the more weight you lose.
Temperature.
The more you drink, I should say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you can't do it all.
Yeah, I didn't see anywhere where we could do it.
Yep. So leave the switch on in the back because that'll keep that hot tank hot
Yeah.
and keep it from growing bioslime. Just pull the wires off the hot solenoid, and then it'll never dispense. But it'll keep the stuff in the hot tank from growing,
Yeah.
and it'll make the machine work better. Because
So there'll still be water in there,
still be water in there,
and it'll still be hot.
It'll be hot. It just can't come out.
It just can't come
Because
out.
you pull those two wires off the
Yeah.
hot cylinder.
Okay.
And like I said, that'll keep that hot tank from growing mold because of stagnant water.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
No, I was just saying.
I was seeing this. So I guess on the cold temperature, when it says it's on, it's 42.8 to 39.2 Fahrenheit. And if you turn it off, it actually gets colder.
Yeah.
Right.
Should come set on the higher temp. If you want a lower temp, flip it the other way. It's supposed to be the factory. Don't quote me that it's going to be that way every time.
But
But
it should be on the higher setting.
yeah, it should be on the higher setting. That way the compressor doesn't run as often and as much. Because just like your air conditioner at home, you put it on 72, it doesn't run near as much or as long as if you have it on 68.
I like the manuals. I've looked through them briefly, and I like the way they're lined out.
Way better than Tom.
Yeah, way better than our Konica manuals on our computers.
I like the pictures.
Like I said, Jamie, who the lady in my office, she came up with that back in 2014, and whenever Chance took it over, he was told to keep that same type format.
Yeah, it's a good. I like it. I like it a lot. it makes sense the way it's laid out.
I'll let him know you said that. He'll be happy to hear that. Because he doesn't get very much feedback on it other than, like I said, when I read it, if I find something wrong, I'll tell him. That way he's got to fix it, because I want y'all to have the proper information.
Sure.
And so I'll go through it. I'll probably go through it tonight sitting at the hotel room, just to go through it, because I haven't got to go through it yet. And read it page for page. And that way, if I see something wrong, I can email him and say, "You need to fix this on the WL50." Which I know he's already sent it to John, my director, to look at. But I still catch things on some of the old ones. And he hates it when I do it. When I catch something, he hates it. Because now he's got to go update it. But he also likes getting the right information out there. So he likes it. And that's why I like it. He normally sends them to me because I was busy making those 5 videos in 1 week. He sent it to John instead. And when I was a national trainer for WaterLogic, we were doing what are they called? SOP. I was the one that made the SOPs for the technicians.
Standard operating procedures.
Yep. I was the one that made them for all of our technicians. I even made them for sales. I'd make them for customer service, customer care, stuff like that. But I was the one in charge of them for service, 100%. I sent he wasn't even my boss then. I was still sending it to John. I sent it to one of our other RSDs because I trusted their opinions. They've both been in the industry over 20 years, so I trust their opinion.
Yeah.
I'd send them to them and say, "Does this look right? Do I need to add anything? Do I need to take something out?" Sometimes they tell me to change a word here or there. That's fine. I know that they're not putting my work down. They want to make it perfect.
Yeah.
And that's why I trust those two, is because I know that's what they want to do. I do the same thing with Chance. I try and look over his stuff. That way he's putting out a perfect product. Or as perfect as we can make it.
Yeah. How susceptible, you talked about power surges and power outages, but we have a lot of bad power in West Virginia, a lot of low power issues, things like that. How susceptible are these to bad power, let's say?
It doesn't happen very often. It doesn't really affect them. Most of the time, if there is an issue, you can just unplug the machine for about 30 seconds, plug it back in, it'll start working.
Yeah.
And you might have your dispatchers or whoever getting the calls from the customers. If they're saying, the machine didn't work right, unplug it first, plug it back, wait 30 seconds, full 30 seconds, give all the transformers, the diodes, the relays, and everything a chance to power down, and then plug it back in, let it power back up properly.
Yeah.
A lot of times that's going to solve the problem. If it doesn't solve the problem, roll the truck, check the board.
Yeah.
They're pretty resilient, but with any computer board,
Right.
low power can mess them up.
Yeah. These things are extremely susceptible to bad power situations, where they have a lot of lows, a lot of highs, or, just bad power in general, And we have a lot of that in West Virginia.
The guy I was training yesterday, he was in Knoxville, Tennessee. He owns an IT and copier company also. And the same surge protector that he puts on his copiers and all of his IT stuff in businesses, he's putting on these machines.
I was going to ask that because we do the same thing. We try to put surge protectors on.
Matter of fact, I think that black box on the ground.
Yeah, that's
surge
one.
Okay, I think his was just like that.
Yeah.
And he said, "I'm gonna put it on every one of my machines." I
Yeah.
said, okay. Because a lot of times fire marshals don't like commercial equipment hooked up to regular surge protectors.
Yeah.
Especially extension cords, but even surge protectors they don't like it hooked up to. But something of that magnitude, they don't mind, because they understand it. They understand the physics behind it and everything, and so they'll allow that.
Yeah.
So those, I don't see a problem with those.
How about extension cords? You mentioned that.
Fire code it's against the federal fire code to have a commercial piece of equipment hooked up to an extension cord for more than 90 days.
Okay. All right.
Because I've had salespeople trying, we just run extension. No, we can't.
Yeah.
Customer will need to have a plug-in within 90 days. That cord will have to come out within 90 days.
Yeah, we run into that all the time on these.
Yep. That's federal fire code.
Yeah.
That's not just local fire code. That is federal. That is mandated from the federal government. 90 days. That's it for any extension cord. We were running them in our WaterLogic headquarters for our refurb center. And I said, and he goes, we've already got it planned. We've got it scheduled. It's just the company we're going to use is a month out. I said, okay. I just want to make sure that y'all are aware. Yeah, we're aware. And we have them come out every so often to redo all of our electrical, or half of our electrical in there. We've got kilowatts going into this building. That's how big of a power supply we have to have. And they just move it however they need to. Was putting in plugs for our Dallas branch when we first moved in. It was a $20,000 thing for us to put them in. Now the Dallas branch isn't there anymore. They moved to another building. I was having to build the Dallas branch. I said, I'll do all the plumbing. They have to do the electrical. So I'm not certified to do that. I'm not certified to do the plumbing, but I'm connecting into existing stuff, kind of like what we do with these.
Yeah. So you don't need certification, plumber certification, to do this type of work?
Depends on your local ordinances. Michigan, you have to have a certified plumber to do the connection into the existing water lines and drains. So our company has 2 certified plumbers in Michigan, and they travel the whole state doing installs. All they do is just the installs.
Yeah.
Once it's hooked up, anyone can work on it
Yeah.
in Michigan. It's the original hookup that they have to do. I'm not sure about West Virginia, but as far as I know, Michigan's the only state that has that law. Local city laws could be different also.
Yeah.
So you just have to pretty much get with your health department, find out what they require for each town that y'all are gonna service.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm out of Dallas. I worked in the soft drink industry for 30 years before coming to the water industry. I talked to multitudes of health guys for every city in North Texas. We have 13 counties with over 90 towns and over 7 million people in that area. And I know most of the health codes are right here. There's some that are here. There's a few that are up here. And I know where those are.
Yeah.
Just because I had to live it
Yeah.
every day. I even made one the town I lived in for 31 years, Mesquite, home of the Mesquite Championship Rodeo. I don't know if y'all ever watched that on TNT or whatever. It's been going for like 20 years on there. But they had an ordinance for an RPZ, which is a reduced pressure zone for soft drink and ice makers. They had it backwards. They wanted the ice maker to have a stainless steel one and the soft drink machine to have the brass one. And I was good friends with one of the councilmen. I helped his wife run our youth department at our church. And so I was good friends with him. And said, this is wrong. I'm telling you. I said, as a city councilman, newly elected city councilman, I said, you need to change this to make it right. He goes, okay, what? What is it? And I told him. What do we need to do? And I said, just flip them. Stainless steel one, if you want to have a stainless steel one, it needs to be on the soft drink, and the brass one can be on the ice maker. I said, brass is fine on the soda, but if you've got to have a stainless steel one, it needs to be on the soda one. He's like, why? And I explained it to him, and he's like, I'll get it fixed. 3 months later, they changed the ordinance.
Yeah.
And because carbonated water, if it mixes with brass or copper, it makes a chlorine gas.
Oh, wow.
And that's why we have RPZs, is to keep that from happening, keep the carbonated water from getting back into the water, city water supply and everything. But they had it set for a brass one for the carbonated water and a stainless steel for the ice maker. Ice maker doesn't have carbonation, it doesn't need stainless steel. They can use a brass one. If you're going to require a stainless steel one, put it on the fountain machine where it could affect. But you're coming out of that stainless steel one and you're running copper anyway. And so, but he did get it changed, and now in Mesquite's, you just got to have a brass one for each one. They even did away with the stainless steel one because, like I told him, I said, you're coming out of it with a brass fitting. I said, we use a stainless steel one, but if you got a line coming off it, it's probably going to be copper.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't do any good if the CO2 gets back to here anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got all that changed just because I knew the laws, I knew the rules, I knew why. If health department, say you hook up that I-12 someplace, health department comes in for whatever reason, and they say, hey customer, you need a RPZ on this. Y'all don't, customer needs to supply that stuff. Those RPZs, I don't know the current pricing on them, but I can guess it's probably around $750 to have them put in to $1,000. And then there's a yearly checkup on them that has to be done, which is about $150 a year. Y'all don't need to do that.
Yeah.
We don't even do that.
Yeah.
We tell them they don't supply it. If they don't want to supply it, then they're not going to be our customer.
Okay.
And if you put one in and you got a 3-year contract with them and the health department comes in, and you can work with that customer to break the contract if you want. That's all on y'all. But if you do get a health department guy that says, you're being a hard butt on it, you got to have an RPZ in here. Either the customer's got to put it in or no deal.
Right.
I wouldn't put them in. Even when I was at Pepsi doing fountain installs, we didn't put them in. Because they have to be certified persons that install them and check them.
Yeah.
And so none of us got our certifications. I told my boss, I said, yeah, go ahead, send me and get certified. Because as soon as I do, I'm going to open my own business and I'm going to start installing them and servicing them. It was like a $5,000 course to get certified.
Yeah.
It takes 6 weeks. $5,000. I didn't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
So you make good money at it, but you got to get. Most towns want you to be certified through them, do some testing, and pay a fee and everything. And it's for like North Texas with all those towns and counties and everything, it's costs lots of money to get set up. Around here, probably not so much because y'all don't have as many people,
Right.
or as many towns as we do. But yeah, I didn't even want to try and get into it. Let's see if I've got
Everything is bigger in Texas.
yeah, including the entire state. Where is? I know I saved that file.
We use the restroom when we get a good stopping point.
Yeah,
Would this
yeah.
be-
I'm just trying to find a file right now. Go ahead and
Okay.
do what you need to do.
Right back.